Bueno, entonces ahora seguimos con Bosch. Vamos a dar unas indicaciones iniciales para poder, unas indicaciones iniciales para poder entrar en materia. Por favor, las personas que tengan, bueno, pues si pueden ver la pantalla, hay un icono, porque esta sesión es en inglés, entonces vamos a tener traducción simultánea. Busquen este icono, si no está en More, o más, y interpretation, depende del idioma que tengan el Zoom. Si no, iban a poder escoger español o inglés. Entonces escojan el idioma que quieren escucharlo. Vamos a tener pues como les dije, interpretación en tiempo real. Bueno, entonces bienvenido ahora a la siguiente charla del Autotech Week. Como sabemos, hoy tuvimos a Mobility, todo esto queda grabado y vamos a enviar los links del video y montar esto en YouTube, cada una de las presentaciones individuales. El día de hoy tenemos a Michel Braguetto. Él es bueno, de Brasil. Él es ingeniero electrónico de la Universidad de Campinas, MBA, PMP, y bueno, ha trabajado durante 11 años en el sector automovilístico desarrollando actividades técnico-comerciales y empresariales. Y en este momento trabaja pues, en Bosch, Brasil. La presentación del día de hoy de Bosch es obviamente este mismo tema, vehículos, automated vehicles o vehículos autónomos. Y pues yo creo que sin más vamos a darle la palabra a Michelle y bueno, podemos empezar ya la presentación. Michelle.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just showing a text. Okay, cool. I'm going to share my presentation. I hope you can see it in a few seconds.
Momento.
Yes.
Ya dejo de compartir.
Okay.
Yes,
so,
we can see it.
Okay, perfect. I suppose you already can see it. As explained, my name is Michel Braguetto. I'm marketing manager from Bosch Brazil, and I'm here responsible for our products on both divisions, CC and XC, which stands for Chassis Systems Control and Cross-Domain Computing Solutions. Today, I'd like to share a little bit about automated vehicles with you guys, but it's not going to be purely focused on what we are doing, but I also want to give some background that we can better understand what is the environment that automated vehicles are included. And therefore, in the course of the presentation and also in the end, I want to bring some this topic to our reality. I want to talk to you and discuss possibly what are the steps towards what we have today till the moment when we indeed have automated vehicles on our streets. Once it is said and done, I'd like to thank for the organization for this invitation to have the opportunity to talk about this important topic for the Colombia Forum here. So moving on here, I want to just give our view, our Bosch view on how we perceive this this mobility environment, and that we call PACE. It's a kind of integrated system solutions that we approach the personalized mobility, the automated mobility, the connected one, and also electrified one. For the purpose that we're gonna talk today, I wanna talk more about automated and connected, and of course, taking benefits not only for specific passenger cars, but all kind of mobility we may have. It's everything about fun and fascinating, comfortable and safety mainly, and why not efficiency and economical. We're gonna see some numbers here showing a little bit better what I'm trying to say to you. So before we go and advanced in this bridge between what we have today and how it's gonna be the steps towards the future, let me just try to, if it's possible, let me try to cluster how we see our vision of automated vehicles that we call two clusters here: the blue world with the private cars, and the green world with urban automated taxis. And what are the main two differences that we may see here is, of course, the usage and the concept and how it's working. We can understand that the blue world like an evolution of what we have today, and then go step by step until we have an autonomous vehicle. Of course, it's going to be amount of limited. It's going to be the usage. It's low, therefore it's really a price-driven system. So it's not going to be completely affordable because the utilization is going to be that much. Therefore, we also have some investment on set of sensors, for example, that is not the hugest one that we can see. On the other side, when we go to the urban automated taxis, which we envision that it's going to be the first solutions that you're going to see, because why? Then we have the focus on driven systems, and also we can benefit from the intense usage of these urban taxis, these urban automated taxis. Therefore, we can invest more on sensor sets. We can have a better performance. Therefore, a driven, function-driven solutions. And since the utilization is going to be higher, we're going to be in a situation that you can afford for such kind of complex systems. Okay, so just having these two clusters, envisioning that the green world would be the reality first, just having this in mind when we are having our discussions, just to have a little bit context to our public. What do we see? What do we envision? We're talking about the so-called AV. Well, we talked about sensors, and it's like a human being. We can make some parallel here. How we drive, we sense. Then we see with our eyes, what we hear, a lot of our sense, and then we think, or we make the reasoning. In other words, we process that information that we are sensing, collecting, and feeling, and then we take our actions. We drive, we use our feet, we use our hands, and so on and so forth. Then we take the action. It's not different with autonomous vehicles. They somehow need to reproduce. Of course, they're going to be able to do much more. We're going to see some examples we already saw in the previous presentation, but the mainstream is still sensing, thinking, and acting. And about sensors, we have a lot of sensors that in the vehicle that will sense the environment, that will feel or map, or we can call many things, but we're gonna have the surrounding of the vehicles well mapped. We need to sense, the vehicle need to know what is around it. Here we have some examples of sensor sets that we could use to make this mapping to sense our environment. Okay, so I'm not going into details because as a system supplier, we are operating in all kind of sensors, all kind of solutions, softwares, and services. So I don't want to take that much of your time here, but prefer to explain a little bit about the concepts and then talk a little bit how we can do it and what we can do in our regions, in the Latin America region. So before going to the next step, then I start doing a short bridge to the connectivity. We start with, it's now a possibility of enhancing the driving in comparison to the human being, for example. We are not connected mentally to other drivers and not to infrastructure, for example. We don't have a Wi-Fi connection. At least we should not be texting with a WhatsApp or whatever the app with other drivers. But the connectivity will allow cars and infrastructure to talk, and then we can further enhance what humans cannot do so far, which is exploiting V2X or connectivity with the vehicle from the network, from the cloud, for pedestrians, vehicles, infrastructure, and whatever are the agents, the players in the mobility. They're going to be able to talk to each other, and then we can benefit a lot from the solutions that this connectivity can bring. And by the way, when we say connectivity, we can go beyond what we just normally think, which is 5G. We're not thinking about only 5G. We're thinking about connectivity, whatever it's Wi-Fi, whatever is dedicated network, whatever is 5G. The point is we need performance on this connection. Well, if you allow me, let me three cases very quickly here about connectivity, what V2X could deliver us. And the first example here on the bottom left, we see V2i Traffic Signal, for example. This traffic signals, there might be a connection from the vehicles with the infrastructure, and then you can map what is being requested in terms of light signals for the vehicles, for the pedestrians, for the cyclists, for all the players in the mobility. And then you can optimize the signals and also optimize the flow in the streets. This can be done to optimize the flow, to optimize the timing in the traffic, to optimize our routes, and also to avoid accidents. Then move to the middle scenario here that we call city crossing assistance for VRU, by the way, vulnerable road user protection. Here, it's basically like having a camera that will recognize these vulnerable road users on the streets, on the roads, and then we're going to be able to communicate it to vehicles that we have this endangered VRU crossing lane, or distracted, or just typing or observing a video in the app. So whatever it's that it's not working properly in terms of safety for this road user, then we can use through communication, through AI, for example, understand that there is a risk of collision, of damage, of injuries, and then we just take actions in the vehicle. Or we send some text notice in the app or in the mobile phone that the VRU are just using. Also, something very useful. I by myself experienced already some dangerous situations like this in our big cities. The lane merging on express highway. If you have different levels, and then you are merging from a side laning to the expressway, if you have some infrastructure that can connect to the vehicle that is just coming for the approach, and the ones that are already there in the expressway, we can benefit from this connection, saying that, okay, you guys are just driving, and then you're gonna have insertion here in the main road, but that is another car coming, so just take care. And then they can adapt to both speeds. Then we have an easy way of merging through the proper speed and the proper pace of the vehicles. So some kind of connected vehicles infrastructure here, providing a better traffic for everybody. Well, we talked a little bit about the autonomous vehicles and automated vehicles, and then we said that we give some context about the clusters, the importance of the sensor settings and how to sense it, thinking and act. We saw also some benefits, and then we saw that automated vehicles are connected, depends or somehow on the connectivity. But what are actually the benefits of automated vehicles? So some here that we can just have in mind. So I like to start with the safety improvements. And why? Because it's, let's say, life has no price. So I prefer to start with this always. And we know that the reality in Latin America countries, it's like this in Brazil, it's not different in Colombia. The accidents are huge. The accident rates, the injuries, the death that we have, it's astonishing. So, and based on studies that it's pretty much well known, 90% of those accidents are caused by human failures. So if we're just thinking that the vast majority of the accidents is being caused by human, if we may introduce autonomous vehicles in the future in a large scale, then we may be able to reduce, or we can avoid these human failures by a proper development system. So that's a huge potential here. Just an example, we have a bottom box here on the right side that we bring some data from a study that we conduct about what would be the benefits in terms of accidents mitigation if we have a partial and conditional automation like L2, L3. I'm going to talk in the sequence, what is this? And also if we include some V2i solutions like those connectivity solutions that we just talked before. Here we have a potential of almost 40% of accidents mitigation, which is huge. So he's the one. And I would say a main benefit of the automated vehicles. Of course, then moving to the second box here, mobility democratization. We know that not everybody can drive for many reasons, and therefore, because of ages sometimes. Here's an example. So we would allow mobility for everybody, independently from the age. They could just go from point A to point B with this practical and easy and fast and optimized way. Then there is a couple here that I used to say, a team that's full efficiency and traffic jam reduction. If you have the chance with these automated vehicles, and also the connectivity, the integration within all the vehicles, with the infrastructures, with the cloud, with the mapping, then we have the chance to optimize our routes, optimizing our traffic, the lights, the way that we're going to drive, and then naturally we can save. That is some numbers here that from a study conducted of 80% the time that we spend in the traffic. So it's huge, it's immense, it's really a lot, and therefore we can also save some fuel on the range of 40%. And last but not least, I can tell you from a big city in Latin America, I can give an example from São Paulo. It's very usual that depending on the place that you are and where you are working or just going for leisure, you would spend 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, in some cases 2 hours just going, and then the same amount of time to return. So if you can save this time, in some cases, or the vast majority of the cases, we would have a potential of saving more than 15% of your time in the day. So that brings us to an average, a reduction of 1 hour per day for the users, and that would save for other tasks like studying, leisure, staying with our families, and why not thinking about more solutions to even improve mobility. Well, now I come to the point that I had said in the beginning, that I wouldn't like to stay here showing a lot of initiatives and LD, L5, level 4, level 5 automated vehicles that we are testing, but I want to create with you the bridge from today to tomorrow. And I can tell you in advance, it's a step-by-step approach. And how? So allow me to start from the right side with the L5, that we call level 5 automation, which is what we were just discussing so far about urban automated taxis. So it's that one that we not necessarily have a driver, or we wouldn't have a driver here, and no supervision by the passengers. Not even a seat would be necessary there. So this is the state of the art, the last level of automated vehicles. We call here minds off. You don't need, definitely not even your mind there. You can fully enjoy your time by using the travel time for working, for just sleeping, or for reading, whatever you want to use with your time there. And with an unlimited area of actuation, whatever you want to go, it's going to be able to drive you from the point that you want in comparison to the point you are. Still, then moving to the left side, we would have level 4, which is still mind off. It means the easiest way to understand this is that you don't need to have your attention there. Definitely, you can just be doing anything else like before. But here, you're going to be able to use this functionality, these automated vehicles, in some specific areas or boundary conditions. It's not going to be fully free. In other words, you're going to still have a driver's seat that, if needed, you would have for specific areas or specific, let's say, route, you would have to take control. Then, again, to the left side, we would have the level 3 that we called eyes off. It means that in this level 3, you need to be minds on. In other words, in level 3, you need to be observing what's going on. Your attention needs to be on the traffic. You are there to take the responsibility, to take the driving if it's requested by the system. Okay, but on the other side, you don't need to keep your eyes on the road anymore on this level. You can be, for example, texting and WhatsApp. You're watching a video, joining a telecom or whatever there. But just if the system calls your attention, then you know that you're still responsible for that. And then in 10 seconds, for example, you just get the driving, and then you do what the systems are not able to do for that specific conditions. Now, definitely moving to the cluster that we say level 2 and level 1, but it's where the human driver monitors driving environment, and you definitely need to do that. In other words, in this level 1 and 2, your eyes and your mind are there. Of course, there is a partially automated guidance. You can do some line changings, of course, triggered by the user, for example, but your eyes needs to be on the road. You cannot just ignore what's going on, sit on the other, take another seat, but from the driver, and then just have the system operating. It's not how level 2 was made for. We have this so-called also for the highway, and then we have this level 2 for traffic jam, or in the lower speeds, as we used to say in our view. But allow me to now starting and coming to the point that I'd like to raise our attention here, which is really the point that for our reality in Latin America, I believe we could discuss. It's the so-called level 1, or the feet off. In other words, you don't need your feet, but your hands still there for some functions that we call level 1. And here I have some examples that I'd like to share with you. But before, just giving some hint of where we are right now. Globally speaking, we are, in terms of serious availability of the solutions. I mean, of course, we have many prototypes, we have many solutions available, we have many trials being done on level 4, even level 5. But what we see is, let's say, saleable product, let's call like this. The majority is in level 3 in the world. In Brazil, just to represent Latin America here, brought an example from Brazil, and we see that we are in level 1 with some functions like AB, LDW, and BST. In other words, automated emergency braking, lane departure warning, and blind spot detections. So some kind of functions called like level 1, that it's pretty much advanced driving assistant functions that we have here. Mainly focusing, of course, on longitudinal and lateral control of the vehicle. Has some examples also with adaptive cruise control with ACC. Okay, then maybe depending on how you were doing those systems, you can also say that we have a few examples on level 2 in Latin America, but the vast majority of our reality, it's level 1. And I tell you why. If we monitor the installation rates of the automated emergency braking or the adaptive cruise control level 1 typical functions, the installation rates that we have in Brazil, for example, it's 7%. Seems to be low. It is indeed, if we compare it to more mature markets, but that is also a good message here that if you take 2 years, if you consider 1 or 2 years before, we just had 2%. So in terms of rate, the development is going by leaps and bounds. Very much in 2025, for example, these numbers will easily reach, in our expectation, 40 to 50%. So we already seen the market, some small hats, small sedans, already bringing from series in the vast majority of the versions of those models, this kind of technologies installed. And why I bring this topic at this moment? Because the question and how our challenge here, we're not going to start in Latin America from what you have in level 4, level 5. We may have some pilots, some trials, some tests, but we have a journey till we get there. We need some steps that we need to take. And for example, there are basic features that we still need for doing any kind of this basic functions, like the ESP by itself, the electronic stability controller, in our Bosch name, ESP. We do need to have this function installed in the vehicle if you want to do any kind of these functions. So it's some kind of fostering our market, our industry first, to have these basic features that we need in the vehicles. So we need to aim the future. Of course, then we are able to do what we need to do now. And what we need to do now is, for example, to decide how it's going to be our approach towards ESP, for example, how it's going to be our approach towards basic functions of level 1, like EB, LDW, and blind spot detection. How are we going to follow, for example, the general safety regulation? And are we going to mandate somehow those technologies? And then we're going to make some reasonable proposals, ramp up those technologies in the next years. And here I can mention a good example of what Brazil is doing. Brazil is having these roadmap discussions within the industry, with all the agents of the industry together, government, and a compromise, a good compromise for the industry and for the country is being done. So that's, I would say, it's one of the challenges of the, not only Brazil, but Latin America region, how to come from what we have today to create the proper environment, the regulations, or the discussions with the industry, that would allow us to come from today, level 1, to the future, level 4, level 5. Well, once that is done, let me then, I mentioned about level 1, and I said about others, and I just want to make sure to you that you understand that those technologies and some of the technologies on ADAS on level 1 and level 2, it's definitely reality, and it's available for many of the vehicles. And here I bring some examples, like we already mentioned, automated emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning. We have also the kind of functions that we can sense what are the lanes and the lane marking, and then we can keep our vehicle in the center of the line that we call lane centering, for example. We can avoid, of course, detect vulnerable road users like pedestrians and cyclists, and then we can trigger emergency braking, avoiding this injuring and crashing those who are used. It's already reality, some functions that when we are doing cornering and when we are doing some turns and converging in the corners. So it's also available there. It's not just idea, it's already there. It's available for even for acquiring some models in Latin America with these technologies. Just travel assistance with, for example, ACC that we call adaptive cruise control, and this adaptive cruise control can also be the one to stop and go. So we just need a traffic jam, then you set distance from the vehicle that is going in front of you, and I'm also set the speed that you want to keep. So you are just following this road, then the traffic stops, the vehicle stops automatically. Then when it starts again, your vehicle starts moving again with a simple touch in the gas pedal. So it's comfortable for you, it's safe, and also it's a travel assistant, how we call. Definitely important is the drive monitoring, for example. We are there sometimes we are tired, sometimes we tend not to pay attention to the place that we should be paying, and then we have the system to monitor us and to remember us that we need to keep your attention in some specific task that we are doing while driving. Of course, adapting our beam, that where the lights of our vehicle is going to be directed. So it's also important that we maximize and we make sure that we have the right amount of light in the spots that we need to see ourselves, to see what we need, and also to help our systems to have the best performance of itself. Another thing that you can experience in a lot of models already, it's the park and maneuver assistance. So it's pretty much common. You are there just driving, then you set the function, then the car by passing by, he's gonna identify a parking lot for you, then you just trigger the system and the car will stop for you there automatically. You just can do some of the steps, or in some cases you can be even outside of the car, and then you just monitor it and the car is going to stop for you. Last but not least, let me just confirm to you that automated valet parking, it's not only videos making for marketing and promotion. Automated valet parking, it's a solution, I can tell you, in Mercedes-Benz garage in Stuttgart. We observed a lot of there, and it's going to be for public also in Stuttgart airport very much in soon. So it's not only a trial anymore, it's reality. As I have mentioned, the benefits of the automated vehicles and benefits for L5 and L4, the L1 and L2, what we call ADAS benefits, that are also a lot of them that our region or our reality here in Latin America can especially benefit from. The first example is the AB with the automated emergency braking. So there are studies in Germany that suggest that 72% of the collisions could be avoided. So it's more than 2/3. And what is also impressive, that collisions that couldn't be avoided, of course, because we have the physical limits of the braking, but at least for almost half of those cases could have the speed reduced. In other words, the damage reduced and the injuries reduced a lot. And we have a bit more, some studies also from US, where we have other ADAS technologies also showing some accident reduction benefits. For example, the forward collision warning that we may have, it's approximately 20% in here collisions. We have the blind spot detection. In other words, you are driving, you're not seeing what's side by side you, and the systems prevent you to do some unintentional lane change, and therefore prevents you having a collision. It can reduce, again here, 23% approximately of the people injured caused by this kind of unintended lane change. And last but not least, the lane depart warning. So that function that will tell you that you are leaving the lane that you are, and that it's not on purpose. And so by having this warning to the driver can understand, and okay, let's keep it, pay attention, not leaving the lane, and then you avoid some crash or some accidents. So ADAS benefits. So when we say ADAS, it's not a matter of comfort. Of course, it's a lot of comfort. Having this kind of functions will help you to have a more comfortable driving, but it's much more than this. It's going to be a safer driving. Well, almost in the end of my presentation about what I'd like to share with the challenges, and then let me bring you again here some discussions for our reality in Latin America. And for doing this, let me share some recent initiatives, just some of them what we are doing right now in the context of ADAS and even automated vehicles. We're going to need, for the development of those systems, we're going to need some testing infrastructure. So, and we are building right now one very big, one of the biggest in the world, might not say that, but definitely one of the biggest in Latin America. They're going to be able to test a lot of ADAS functions. And also we're going to have space to do some safe tests with autonomous vehicles. We are also investing in partnership with the government. That's why I said in the past, governmental programs that would foster this topic. It's also important for our industry. And in Brazil here, 2 examples that we are using some kind of foment programs, and we are innovating, aiming solutions for the urban traffic and also for agribusiness. And what else can we do as companies? And I can tell you, and I'm really proud to tell you what we are doing as Bosch here. We are developing our infra, we're acquiring equipments, we are preparing ourselves, we are developing our engineering, our product, our sales, and our teams to better support the needs in Latin America. Our customers are here. We have specificities in our countries that we need to address, like some roads in the streets. There are many things that we're not going to see as a reality in some of the countries where the systems today are being developed. So it's an opportunity for us, an opportunity to contribute actively to the developments that are happening. So, and also to place our needs, the needs of our markets to those developments that are happening. And as I used to say, it's our call if we're gonna watch or if you're gonna participate on it. And to purely watching on this, then we're just gonna be somebody on the boat without having any action to do. If you participate, we're gonna have the chance to bring our voice, to do to do what we can do, to take a part of this development, to bring our industry to this game, and why not benefit from it. So that's why I keep insisting that we need to think in the future with L4 and L5, but we definitely need to start on L1, thinking how we can move from today to tomorrow. With this, I'd like to thank you for your time, for the invitation again. And if you have some questions, I'm going to be happy to answer you.
Bueno, Michelle, muchas gracias por tu participación. ¿Estás escuchando en inglés? ¿Estamos haciendo traducción en inglés? Sí, sí, estamos traduciendo en inglés perfectamente. Bueno, Michelle, muchas gracias y muchas gracias a todos los asistentes, por favor. Bueno, tenemos unas preguntas aquí. Bueno, hay una pregunta que dice, en Colombia la mayoría de vehículos son importados. Nos preguntan, ¿qué nivel de automatización o de vehículo autónomo son los carros que llegan al país? Digamos, en Colombia, y creo que Brasil puede ser un buen ejemplo, ¿hasta qué tipo de nivel de autónomos, ¿no? Del 1 al 5 que vimos, tenemos en las carreteras en este momento en Latinoamérica, en Colombia y en Brasil?
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to talk now about specific cases. I'm going to talk as a rule, as generally speaking. Generally speaking, what we have is level 1 and a few cases of level 2. In terms of something with more representativeness, I don't see L3, not even L4, not even L5. In the world, we are seeing some things of level 3 becoming more common, but in Latin America, it's definitely the vast majority level 1 and some cases of level 2. It includes Brazil and other regions. You see more in Brazil, of course, but in Colombia, you also see this behavior of having level 1 and some level 2.
Muchas gracias, Michelle. Bueno, yo tengo una pregunta también y que es recurrente en todos estos eventos, es el tema regulatorio, porque sabemos que normalmente los gobiernos van bastante atrás de lo que es la tecnología, ¿no? Y no solamente en Latinoamérica, pero bueno, especialmente en Latinoamérica. ¿Qué está haciendo Brasil en este momento para prepararse y para estar a la vanguardia, o por lo menos no quedarse atrás en estas tendencias de vehículos autónomos, de conectividad, de electrificación? ¿Qué está haciendo Brasil y qué está haciendo el gobierno de Brasil sobre todo, ¿no? ¿Qué políticas públicas se están diseñando o qué planes hay para poder no quedarse atrás y poder, digamos, migrar toda la industria a estas tecnologías?
Alan, what I can tell you, if you observe in the past, what we used to have, it was a longer gap or much bigger gap between what we had in more mature markets and what we have in Brazil or in Latin America. So the first steps of the active safety technologies, our gap were 10 or 15 years. And what we see in the last years is this gap reducing. Of course, we still have some room for improvement, but this gap is already reduced a lot. And what are some reasons for this? It's exactly as what you mentioned, the role of the industry together government, because it's not only a single task of the government. It's a task that the government can do, but in partnership with the industry. They need to talk to find the best solutions for the country. And what was done here in Brazil, some basic technologies that is important for reducing the accidents, but also improving the preconditions that we need for further technologies. Those topics were discussed in the past since 2009, 2010. For example, ABS was made mandatory in 2014 with airbags. Then we had the mandatoriness of ESP, also defined. And in 2017, there was a discussion that was so-called technological roadmap, where it was raised by the government and all industry players. They were in this discussion in a very fruitful way, that we defined a roadmap of technologies that should be studied technically and should be proposed as a regulation to the government. And it includes, for example, some rear visibility systems, which is already published, AEB, automated emergency braking, and also lane depart warning. Such kind of functions were brought in this roadmap, is being discussed, and there is some expectations from the industry that those technologies will be mandate in the next years. So this is important. Why? We are reducing the technological gap. We are preparing our vehicles for further technologies that depends or rely on these basic features that I just mentioned to you. We also giving visibility to our industry, to the automotive industry, about what's going to happen in the 5 years, for example, with some clear set of legislations. And of course, it's a talking. It's not on a unilateral approach for government or some unilateral push for industry. It's something constructed or built together in pro of the safety and improve the industry in the country. So if I had to now answer your question pragmatically, I would say that's what we're doing. And what we could do in other regions that are still not, let's say, discussing would be starting with the basic features that we need, like ABS and ESP, then moving on to some level 1 basic ADAS functions to define a technological roadmap of what and when it would be implemented in the industry, in the country.
Muchas gracias, Michelle. Tenemos otra pregunta que nos pone aquí Santiago Jaramillo. ¿Podrías darnos algunas recomendaciones para prepararnos y preparar nuestro ambiente, nuestras calles para estos nuevos cambios? Y eso tiene que podrían prepararse para introducir vehículos que se manejan de manera autónoma. O sea, ¿qué hay que hacer? ¿Cuál es el primer paso para poder prepararnos? O si están preparadas las calles en Latinoamérica y en nuestras regiones, o hay que hacer algo. O sea, las ciudades, las alcaldías y los departamentos de movilidad y las alcaldías de las ciudades tendrían que hacer algo específico para preparar las ciudades.
I just mentioned some initiatives before that what we have done, how industry had helped government to do to set up a technological roadmap. So it's one step, and I would say one of the most important at this moment for the reality that we have right now. But we can do also something more. For example, in this kind of, although there is some steps to take to have L5, L4 and L5 automated vehicles, but it's important that somehow they are tested, they are running in our streets that we can also collect data, and then we can also benefit from the development of the platforms considering our reality. And therefore, discussing some legal frame for allowing this kind of L4 or L5 vehicles in our streets, even in a specific area, but for trial in our reality, it's something that can also be done. Now, let me move a little bit from this kind of regulation and go into the area of innovation and research, R&D. It's also important that our countries that we have policies to foster and to incentivize research and development locally. We know that many of our developments are done in the headquarters of the companies, but we cannot let our industry just depending on this. Our industry can have a space, and I can affirm you there are a lot of solutions that we see in Brazil. There are many of universities with some of the players in the industry that they are doing by benefiting from what we call Rota 2030, which is an R&D program that government prepared a few years ago, and then it goes until 2030 with a long-term perspective of how our industry should be when we're thinking about automotive industry. So having this policy of R&D or fostering the automotive industry in those countries could be something that we also could benefit from an economical perspective. And last but not least, the industries or the players, they have also their role of investing and thinking about what's about to come in the future, what kind of technologies will come, what's going to be our challenges there, and start developing their teams, their structures, building up their know-how, acquiring their talents right now. It's not easy, it's not fast to form and to prepare professionals for this kind of really system on chip, really software-driven, multi-domain driven technology. So we need to start now if you're gonna have some chance in the future. Some hints of how we can start to be prepared for these automated vehicles.
Bueno, muy bien. Muy bien, muchas gracias por tus respuestas y por la presentación, Michelle. Estamos felices de tenerlos y tener gente que está trabajando en estos temas directamente, presentándonos estas tecnologías. Para nosotros es muy importante, interesante poder conocer desde los mismos que están trabajando estas tecnologías qué está pasando para ver cómo podemos preparar nuestra industria automotriz colombiana. Este proyecto, como lo dije al principio, es un proyecto de Naciones Unidas para promover el desarrollo de la industria automotriz colombiana, y nosotros creemos que pues, en algún punto Colombia tendrá que entrar a trabajar en estas tecnologías ACES, vehículos autónomos, conectividad, electrificación y servicios de movilidad. Y pues la idea es que con este evento se haga un primer acercamiento a estas tecnologías, pero seguramente seguiremos hablando del tema y bueno, los invitaremos también a ustedes, a Bosch, para hablar de esto en el país, tanto con gobierno como con empresas. Gracias Diana también, Diana López, que nos facilitó de Bosch, que nos facilitó la participación de Bosch, y la Cámara Colombo-Alemana, que también hizo pues, el contacto para que Bosch estuviera el día de hoy aquí. Bueno, agradecerles mucho de parte de todos. Estoy presentando pantalla. Entonces, el día de hoy, creo que damos por terminado ya las sesiones. Tenemos a Mobileye, tuvimos a Mobileye, tuvimos a Bosch el día de hoy. Y mañana nos espera una sesión muy, muy, muy interesante. Ya estamos hablando de vehículos conectados. Es un tema, digamos, que claramente está muy cercano al tema de vehículos autónomos. Los vehículos conectados habilitan el tema de autónomos, pero bueno, hoy nos enfocamos en este tema. Mañana tendremos dos expositores que hablan de conectividad vehicular específicamente, sin hablar del tema de vehículos que se manejan solos. Y uno de ellos es una empresa bueno, que trabaja en geolocalización para servicios, que es Shiva. Y mañana también tendremos Bikes, una empresa que tiene una solución de conectividad para evitar que ciclistas o carros y ciclistas se estrellen, ¿no? Que carros estrellen a ciclistas. Entonces es un tema, pues como saben, de mucha actualidad en Colombia y de mucho interés. Los invitamos y también si tienen gente que les puede parecer interesantes esas presentaciones, pues obviamente pueden enviarles el link y todos bienvenidos. Hay unas últimas invitaciones que tenemos, por favor. Tenemos un campus de la industria automotriz este mes, el mes que viene, claramente en octubre. Por favor, inscríbanse y asistan, les está llegando publicidad y también en las redes está. También nos gustaría que se inscriban a las convocatorias de las Alianzas para el Desarrollo de Colombia Productiva, terminan este viernes. Y también tenemos una rueda de ProColombia para poder buscar nuevos potenciales clientes en el extranjero, rueda para exportadores. También hay más de 30 empresas interesadas en comprarle a empresas colombianas, entonces por favor inscríbanse, también están las redes nuestras y las redes de ProColombia. Bueno, yo creo que no siendo más, el día de hoy termina de manera muy exitosa. Hemos sostenido más de 100 personas todo el tiempo y eso pues es algo que nos dice que este tema es de interés en el país. Los esperamos mañana en las dos charlas. Arrancamos a las 9:30 el día de mañana, diferente al día de hoy, pero igual ya les llegará el correo y al mismo Outlook y el calendario, la invitación como tal con el link, ¿vale? Cualquier cosa nos pueden escribir. Muchas gracias a todos y bueno, que tengan un feliz día.